Hey guys, how's it going? It is Calvin Raab. Hope you're having an awesome day today. So as you guys know, I make personal finance videos, and personal finance is something that I am very, very passionate about. And because of that, I watch a lot of personal finance videos. There are tons of great YouTubers out here that are in this personal finance sector with me, and I try to watch as many of their videos as I can. And I think they're great videos, but just because I enjoy watching them doesn't mean that we all think the same. So in this video, I'm going to go over 10 different financial advice ideas that are pushed by a lot of YouTubers that I personally don't agree with, and I don't think necessarily that these are great personal finance ideas or opinions or recommendations. So let's get into it. Let's jump into these 10, and who knows, maybe this is going to be controversial. We'll find out, but let's get into it. Let's get into number 1. And if you're new here, my name's Calvin Raab. I make videos all about personal finance. So if you're interested in anything like that, I would love it if you would subscribe. So the first kind of idea that's pushed here on YouTube a lot is that frugality is the way to riches. Now, it's this kind of idea that if you want to be rich, you have to be unbelievably frugal. And I don't necessarily think that that's the best way. Me personally, I'm not that frugal. You know, I buy things that are expensive. That being said, I'm not frugal, but I am careful with my money. And I think that's more important than being extremely, extremely frugal. So jumping back to the idea of frugality is the way to riches, and why I kind of disagree with it is because some people put so much work into being as frugal as possible that if they had just directed that effort somewhere else to somewhere a little more lucrative, whether it be a lucrative side hustle or even maybe just a side job, then I think that would return them more money than the effort they put into being extremely frugal. And I also know a lot of people that are very frugal, and oftentimes it's rough. It doesn't look fun. And you know, a part of this financial journey is you don't want it to be miserable. You want it to be enjoyable. I always say that personal finance can be fun. And if you're extremely frugal and you're so worried about money and you don't spend it on anything remotely that would give you any fun, then it's not fun. It's just an extreme diet that's just not enjoyable. I'm more of the mindset that there is a fun way to grow your wealth, and that's what I try to share with this channel. The second piece of financial advice that is pushed often in the real estate sector is where I see this most commonly, but it's the idea that renting is just a waste of money. And this is something that I think shouldn't be seen as a general rule, for it should be more on an individual basis. So for instance, for me right now, I'm living in Los Angeles. I go to school at UCLA, and houses around here are unbelievably expensive. You know, they're very, very hard to find something below $1 million. And I also live right across the street from Bel Air there, where they're all 10, 12, $15 million homes. It's unbelievable. But it wouldn't make sense for me to buy a place around here. And renting saves me a lot more money than if I should buy. Now, if I were somewhere else in the country where it was cheaper, and I may even spend more money if I were renting than buying, then yeah, it makes more sense to buy. With this is that it's seen as a general rule when it should be much more on an individual basis. So for instance, for me, it wouldn't apply to me necessarily, because I live in a very expensive part of the country. I live in Los Angeles, I go to UCLA, and houses around here, it's hard to find something under $1 million, and I have houses in my area around here that are around $15 to $20 million. It is absolutely insane. But if someone were to try to buy a house in my area, they would be putting so much money in on the down payment, and the mortgage would be so expensive that they might as well just invest out of state. You can make a higher return there. So it's definitely on a personal basis. If you are in the instance where buying a house is even cheaper than if you were to rent, then yeah, it's probably a good decision to do that. But using this as a general rule, I don't think is a good idea. And renting is not always a waste of money, depending your financial situation, maybe your age. It's a personal basis, personal decision for everyone that shouldn't be seen as a general rule. Number 3, and this is the idea that your sole focus with finances should be paying off debt. Now, I do understand that, and I think more so than kind of the general population, I am much more pro paying off debt. I do think that is certainly the biggest goal that people should tackle to kind of reach financial freedom, but I don't think in all circumstances that's the only thing you should be focused on. And really the cool thing is just a numbers game. You can just look at the interest interest rate that you have, the return you would get if you invested elsewhere, and you can make the decision there. If you have very high interest, then you're going to want to look at changing up maybe the type of debt that you have, consolidating it in different ways. But paying off debt shouldn't always be your sole focus if you can go and make more money elsewhere. However, it also depends on the business cycle that we're in, and since we're kind of at the top of it right now, I am pushing a little bit more to pay off that high interest debt, because as we go into a recession, you're not going to want to have that high interest debt still hanging over your head. So again, a general rule that shouldn't be applied to everyone, for there are different specifics and individuals that it wouldn't necessarily apply to. Number 4, and these are all the videos that tell you to buy Bitcoin and buy cryptocurrency. Now there are so many videos here on YouTube, it's unbelievable when it talks about buying all these different cryptocurrencies and different things like that, and personally I don't think that is a good financial investment. If you actually watch these videos and pay attention to them, oftentimes you'll start to see that they don't really give you a good reason to why you should buy it. It's very, very speculative, and oftentimes it boils down to, oh, you should buy it now because it was once at this price and it could go back up. And then my kind of finance mind is always like, okay, why should it go back up? What merits does it have that it should go back to that certain value? And again, it is a speculative investment. I'm going to be making a whole video on this about why I don't invest in cryptocurrency at the moment, or Bitcoin or anything like that. So stay tuned for that video and I'll go much more in depth on this topic. The 5th piece of advice that I disagree with and gets a lot of attention here on YouTube is all that matters is the credit score. There are channels completely dedicated to raising your credit, and I don't want to kind of take away from those. Those are great channels that offer great advice, but there's this idea that, oh, all your financial mishaps and issues will be solved if you just up that credit score, and this is how you can do it. Well, when it boils down to it, the credit score is not the end-all be-all thing, and oftentimes the argument is, oh, you need it to get loans and different things like that. Well, all these different agencies and different loan officers, they all have underwriters that really look at your finances, and although they do look at the credit score, they look at so much more than that, because some people don't even really have a credit score. Some people just use cash and debit cards, so these underwriters do look into these credit score, or do look into the different situations pertaining to your finances. So although a credit score is good to raise and lift up, it can help oftentimes, it's not the end-all be-all of personal finance, and it's not going to solve all your issues if you have a high credit score. Number 6, and this is when people always say that in order to make money in the stock market, you need to take big risks, and I personally don't agree with that. I think you don't need to take big risks to make money in the stock market. You can check out the video I made about how to lower your risk in the stock market and different investments. I can show you how you can control your risk, so check that one out. But to make money in the stock market, you don't need to take huge risks on these little penny stocks and different things like that. You can put your money in reliable indexes, blue chip stocks, and more conservative investments, and you can pretty reliably be confident that they're going to go up in the long term. So you don't need to take huge risks to make money. Number 7, and boy is this one prevalent, and this one is that there's this kind of idea that is pushed by a lot of people that make courses, this idea that if you want to get started, you need to buy an expensive course. And this is something that I certainly disagree with. So I see this in the real estate space a lot. There are a lot of courses being sold for beginners that are thousands upon thousands of dollars, and oftentimes you don't even know what this field is about. So suppose there's a certain course on house flipping, and the course is selling for $5,000 and it's being pushed to beginners. You shouldn't go and spend that much money right off the bat when you don't know anything about house flipping. You should do some research online for free. You can go to biggerpockets.com, one of my favorite websites on the planet, to learn about different real estate things and just understand it a little more. No beginner should be spending that much money on a course when you don't know anything about the field yet. Maybe you don't want to go into it and you find that out through the course. Well, there's $5,000 down the tube. So definitely don't buy a huge expensive course when you're just a beginner at something. So this is something that frustrates me because I know individuals selling these courses are getting unbelievably rich. So it's not necessary, and you can do your own research oftentimes for for free. And once you understand the landscape a little bit, then you can look into investing in a course. Number 8, and this is the idea that retiring early should be the goal. You know, whenever anyone talks about financial freedom, they always talk about how much most people hate their 9 to 5 and that they want to retire early and that should be the only goal. And personally, I don't think that's a great goal to have. You know, this idea that, oh, you hate your job so much that what's going to motivate you is just going to be able to end it in the end. And I don't think that's good, because then you'll just dislike the journey the entire time. If you don't like your job, then it's just going to be a miserable time working towards financial independence, financial freedom, if every time you go to work you just are not happy, not pleased, and just mad. So retirement can certainly be a goal of yours, but I don't think it should be the driving force that is leading you to try to make as much money as you possibly can. It should be bigger than that. You know, maybe it's to have financial freedom, to have time to spend with your family and different things like that. So I just wouldn't let retirement be the sole motivator of why you want to make money, because then even once you get there, then it just kind of feels like, oh, well, your goals are just kind of accomplished. You want to have bigger, larger than life goals, and this can certainly be a sub goal, but I don't think that should be your only goal that you're shooting for. So early retirement should not be your only goal, and that's kind of an idea that's pushed a lot here on YouTube. The 9th kind of personal finance advice or opinion that I see on YouTube is that there's a secret formula to do well in the stock market. You've probably seen this in all those stock market commercials, the idea that, oh, I have this 5-6 step plan. I have this secret formula that worked for me and no one else. You know, I see this. If you just go with my strategy, my secret sauce formula, then you will be rich. Go and buy my course, because then you'll be able to get wealthy. And in reality, there's no secret to making money in the stock market. All the different techniques that are out there, you can find them for free online, free through YouTube videos, and just free if you just type them in on the internet. So there's no secret formula to making money. If you want even just the most basic idea, grab your money, put it in the S&P 500, put it in a simple index that tracks the bond market, the total market. In the end, that'll go up. That's not a secret formula. It's just an idea of how the stock market works. So there is no secret formula. There are different techniques you can have, but no one's got a secret formula, and if they are, they're either trying to sell you something or they're just very uneducated about the stock market and how it works. Number 10, and this one's interesting because there's two very different sides here, and this is that all credit cards are bad. That is something that is issued a lot on one side of YouTube. It's the more kind of conservative side that sees credit cards as being this great evil, and that's not necessarily the case. And it's funny because there's the flip side too. There are entire channels that I really like that are dedicated to credit cards, credit card rewards, and getting the most out of your credit card. So it's just this huge dichotomy and difference between these two different sides of YouTube that I really enjoy watching the two sides kind of go at it a little bit. But do I see credit cards as being all bad? No. I use a lot of credit cards. I don't really use debit cards, and each of the cards I have paid off in full every single month, which I highly recommend, and that keeps me from running into any troubles of late payments. It just does it automatically, don't have to think about it, and then I am then able to get rewards off of my purchases that I wouldn't be able to get had I used a debit card. So not all credit cards are bad. They can run into trouble if you're not careful, so you do want to be careful about it and make sure you have all your bases covered when it comes to using credit cards. But they're not all bad. Alright, so that will wrap it up. I then want to turn the question to you guys and see what are some other pieces of personal advice or personal finance advice that you see here on YouTube that you don't agree with. I would love it if you would let me know in the comments below. I'll be looking through there, seeing what your guys' thoughts are, and this is kind of a fun kind of conversation. And I'd rather you guys not name names down there. I don't want you guys to point out other YouTube channels or other people out there that may be doing one of these things. I want to keep it considerate and solely focus on the ideas. As you guys know, I didn't use names in this video. I just wanted to focus on the ideas that are passed, and I would love it if you guys would do that in the comments below. I don't want to just call anyone out, and I just want this to be a good conversation in the comments below. So be sure to let me know down there. I look forward to talking to you guys as always, but that will wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, my name is Raab, and I'll see you soon. Bye guys. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Congratulations. So I'm going to move to the corner of your screen here. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, you are going to see my most recent video. And if you look in the lower left-hand corner, you're gonna see a video that YouTube and I each think that you would like. And if you haven't yet, you can hit my face right here and subscribe. As always, my name is Calvin Raab, and I'll see you soon.